James Madison, father of the Constitution, fourth President of the United States, co-author of the Federalist Papers. Madison did not have the dream childhood. Born to James Madison Sr. and Ellen Rose Conaway on March 16, 1751, he was the oldest of his 12 brothers and sisters, of whom only 9 survived infancy and only 7 survived to adulthood. James Madison and his family moved from their little farmhouse to a large plantation and mansion, Montpelier. He suffered from psychosomatic or stress-induced seizures that affected him greatly throughout his childhood. However, reading in foreign languages had always been of interest to him. He had always acknowledged the importance of knowledge. At the age of 12, Madison's father sent him to a school run by Donald Robertson, where he studied arithmetic, Greek, Latin, and geography. He later credits his life's work to his teacher by stating, "All that I have been in life, I owe largely to that man." Madison went to the College of New Jersey, known today as Princeton University, and graduated after 2 years. He decided to stay for another term where he studied Hebrew and ethics. Due to his tendency to overwork, he returned home from school in poor health.
Madison first entered politics when he was appointed to the Orange County Committee of Safety in 1774, at the age of only 23. He was also selected to represent Orange County in the 1776 Virginia Convention. Madison also attempted to work in the militia, but due to his poor health, he eventually realized he would not be able to do so. He continued his career in politics and was appointed to the Council of State for Virginia. He went on to become the representative for Virginia in the Continental Congress, as well as being a member of the Virginia House of Delegates. In 1787, Madison was called to a convention organized to revise the Articles of Confederation. He played a huge role in the convention, creating the Virginia Plan, which included many ideas that were eventually used in the final Constitution. When the Constitution was completed, Madison helped write the Federalist Papers, which were aimed at persuading states to approve the new Constitution. Madison was elected in the new Congress created by the Constitution and met Dolly Payne Todd, who he married on September 15, 1794. He became very weary with the politics and greatly looked forward to going back to Montpelier with Dolly. In 1799, Madison was elected to the Virginia Assembly and anonymously constructed the Virginia Resolution as a direct result of the passing of the Alien and Sedition Acts. He then served in the House of Delegates before being appointed to the Electoral College for the election of 1800. Thomas Jefferson, a close friend of Madison, was elected President of the United States in the 1800 election. Jefferson appointed Madison as his Secretary of State in the Cabinet, where he supported Jefferson's actions in the Louisiana Purchase and the Embargo Act.
James Madison was elected president in 1808, winning against Charles Cotesworth Pinckney. He had George Clinton as his vice president, James Monroe as Secretary of State, and Albert Gallatin as Secretary of Treasury. One of the major issues that Madison dealt with early in his presidency regarded trading with foreign countries, more specifically Britain and France. Congress passed Macon's Bill No. 2, stating that if either nation removed their trade restrictions, then the United States would halt trade with the other. This was one of the many factors that led to the war that raged throughout much of Madison's presidency. Other contributing factors included the War Hawks, a group of energetic congressmen eager for war elected during the midterm election of 1810, the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811, and the impressment of U.S. sailors by the British. Madison only cited impressment as the reason for his declaration of war on June 1, 1812. The War of 1812 was nicknamed Mr. Madison's War, and it lasted from 1812 to around 1815, well into Madison's second term. Significant events in the war included the Battle of Put-in-Bay, the Battle of Thames, the Battle of Plattsburgh, and the Battle of Bladensburg. Due to the immediate American loss at Bladensburg, British troops were able to march straight for the nation's capital. While James Madison, his cabinet, and many other government officials fled from the British troops, Madison's courageous wife stayed behind to preserve important historical artifacts, such as George Washington's portrait. The war technically ended on December 24, 1814. However, the Battle of New Orleans, which was the most important U.S. victory, occurred after the Treaty of Ghent was signed. The War of 1812 returned Madison to a point of high public respect.
After leaving office at the age of 68 years old, James Madison resided in his plantation, Montpelier, where he continued to be a farmer. During his time in retirement, he gave his voice on many different topics, especially on those regarding the University of Virginia, which was founded by his close friend, Thomas Jefferson. He served on the university's board of visitors and later even succeeded Thomas Jefferson as head of the university in 1826. 3 years later, he once again served on the Virginia Constitutional Convention to negotiate compromises between the large plantation owners and the Western farmers. In the great constitutional debate over the high protective tariff passed in 1828, he argued against the ability for states to declare a law unconstitutional whenever they undermine that state's interests. In addition to this, James Madison heavily argued the fault in slavery. In 1833, he joined the American Colonization Society. He constantly struggled on what was the best way to eradicate slavery from his plantation as well as other parts of the country. A visitor to Montpelier in 1835 noted that, with regard to slavery, Madison owned himself almost to be in despair, that he talked more on the subject of slavery than on any other, acknowledging without limitation or hesitation all the evils with which it has ever been charged. However, despite the want to abolish slavery, he also wanted the blacks and the whites to be separated. Writing to Marquis de Lafayette in 1826, Madison said the two races cannot coexist, both being free and equal. The great sine qua non therefore is some external asylum for the colored race. As a supporter of the American Colonization Society, he supported the abolition of slavery, but not for them to join white society. Instead, he expected them to either move west or back to Africa, Liberia in particular. Madison wrote to abolitionist Francis Wright that it was the physical peculiarities of those held in bondage that prevented the integration into Anglo-American society. Madison later became president of the American Colonization Society in 1833, serving in that position until his death in 1836. In his will, Madison bequeathed $2,000 and a tract of land to the society. Sadly, the father of the Constitution passed away on June 28, 1836, after 6 months of chronic rheumatism and severe attacks from liver dysfunction. His family and the nation had hoped for him to die on July 4th, to join Thomas Jefferson and John Adams on the list of presidents to die on this historical date.